What's the story, guys? Welcome to day 5 of the fuel protests. First off, I want to apologise if I sound a little bit scatterbrained because there's so much after happening over the last 2 days that it's difficult to keep track of and my mind keeps leaping from one thing to the other. I actually wanted to do this vid yesterday on the 4th day, but I wanted to wait and see how that meeting went to find out what the story was going to be and report on it today. But today has been such an absolute amazing turn of events that it's just completely thrown my mind. I mean, what we basically have down in Whitegate at the moment is that the riot squad went down there and turned the pepper spray on the people there to clear the access to the oil refinery. There's reports that the only two water cannons in the country are actually down there, along with the army. So that turn of events has kind of flustered me, so if I'm forgetting things from yesterday, please forgive me. Going back to cover yesterday's events, it's clear now that this is spiralling out of control for the government because Micheál Martin was back on the radio again. I've not seen this guy cover an event for 2 days in a row in decades. He's got his ministerial boot boys out in the national airwaves doing his hard legwork for him. And we have what I now consider a career-defining event from Big Jim Callaghan. Now, just to remind people, Jim Callaghan is the anointed next leader of Fianna Fáil and putative Taoiseach of the country, according to the mainstream media, despite the fact that this guy is an absolute blowing in terms of political terms of years served. He's been anointed by the Irish Times and the like to be the next putative leader of the country. But how he's comported himself over this has been revelatory. This man has clearly gone off on a solo run by saying that he was going to stick the army on people. Furthermore, when he was interviewed later on the radio about what other consequences was happening, he's talking about removing people's licences from their livelihood should they partake in these protests. Now, I made the case in the last video that Micheál Martin now fits the Mussolini definition of a fascist, and these guys ain't going out of their way to disprove that. The reason why I say this is a solo run, though, is that the media have been hounding the other guys to come out from the political parties in relation to, right, you've called on the army, where are they? And every response that we've got from a ministerial representative has been, that would be an operational matter. Which is so close to a line from Father Ted that it's unreal. It keeps making me cracking up every time I hear it. Indeed, there seems to be backpedaling already in which they're going to talk about army machinery as opposed to armed forces. But even so, considering the history of this country, all the trouble we've had over the years, to actually have the armed forces turned on self-employed people, farmers and bus drivers, whoa, that's an upgrade that nobody will actually stand for. So Big Jim, basically showing himself to be a boot boy, has probably put the kibosh on his Taoiseach ambitions for the next decade or so. Martin is doubling down on his stance that he won't talk to anybody who isn't part of a national organisation recognised by the government. And indeed, the meeting that I was waiting to do this video on before, that was supposed to happen at 2:30 yesterday, that turned out to be just a humiliation session for the actual protesters who were there. From what I've heard behind the scenes, a pair of TDs, one from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, had got in contact in, I think, 2 lads over in Galway, who actually drove down for the meeting, who were told that they would have access to it. They met up with 2 other lads from the Dublin protest down on Macon Street, and they all came up to gain entrance with the Dáil in order to, I think, go underneath the umbrella of the Irish Road Haulers Association. They're supposed to be able to come in with them. That was the only way that they were going to be recognised. They were turned away. They were just basically metaphorically pissed in the face by Micheál Martin in what can only be described as a humiliation exercise. It was simply to tell the peasants to get in their box and know their place. Micheál then went on to have a 5-hour discussion with the Irish Road Haulers Association and various other groups who didn't organise this protest, don't support this protest and can't defuse this protest. It's the most stunning example of arrogant ignorance I've ever seen in my entire life. And then after it's all done, he has the cheek to come out and say that they've decided on some massive package that's really going to benefit these people, but only if the people who are doing the protest disband and go home. And he won't tell them what the package is until they do so. So think about that. A bunch of people who don't represent you have gone into Dáil Éireann to negotiate a package. They've come out and said that they've got one, and you've got to go home before you can learn what it's going to be and whether it'll benefit you in any way whatsoever. Oh, and by the way, the people doing the negotiation are the country club mates of the Taoiseach and his class. You know, the type of people that go to ambassadorial balls and the like. It's insane. It's the intellectual equivalent of being told that you have to go to mediation and then going with someone else's missus. I don't care how successful the session is. That's not going to sort any domestic. I'll be honest with you. After metaphorically humiliating these people that way, I can't help thinking that he's probably added a month onto this protest. Because if somebody told me through a TD that I have to come up and have a chat with the Taoiseach or the Taoiseach or whatever, and I got into the Dublin building and they told me to feck off, I tell you, well, feck you. You try and find someone else to talk to instead because I'm going home. And what's even more frustrating is the sheer number of government idiots going on the national airwaves, trying to make the excuse that, well, they're not officially recognised, so does that mean that whenever anybody protests that we have to talk to every Tom, Dick and Harry? Yes, that's your job as a public representative. You are meant to negotiate with people who are protesting, if it's on a scale like this. It's clear now that the government parties in there have got so fat and lazy thanks to partnership, where they can just ring up some lad from a Rolodex and buy him off to sell out his members, that they've lost the contact to the reality that, yes, in a democracy, you're supposed to negotiate with the public. And the onus on finding someone to talk to is on you. You pay $200,000 a year. Get off your arse, get down to these lads and talk to them. What the government is doing right now is like trying to negotiate a trade dispute with Aer Lingus by talking to Dublin Bus. This is the absolute state of the government that we're lumbered with. I mean, I can't help thinking over this whole affair that if you think in times gone by, how would somebody like Charles Haughey have sorted this situation? How would Bertie Ahern? Not that I have any truck with those people, and no matter what you may think about them, Charles Haughey had an underground come-on organisation which had its roots in everything. If he was in this situation, he'd be turning around to the people on the grassroots and saying, right, who can we talk to in here? Who's guy who's just blustering and puffing his chest up? Who's someone who can actually deliver on diffusing this situation? He would have organised a meeting. There would have been back and forth, and the whole thing would have been sorted. Micheál Martin can't do any of that. The grassroots organisation of Fianna Fáil has withered and died under his tenureship. He is now a managerial class ruler of this country, essentially acting like a viceroy for Ursula von der Leyen. And I guarantee you, he is more concerned about the upcoming EU presidency than he is about diffusing this situation. I mean, the arrogance of the man is astounding. He's sounding like Thatcher refusing to talk to the IRA, for Christ's sake, and it's just a bunch of farmers and bus drivers. What blows me away, though, is the unmerited arrogance of the man. When Charles Haughey was running the country, Fianna Fáil had the support of 80% of the public. Micheál Martin has less public support than Donald Trump. Fianna Fáil as a party in Dáil Éireann is almost completely on par with Independence Ireland as a party, plus all the independents put together. That's the state of it now. It's about 19% support. This is a government that only exists with him getting in bed with the ancient enemy of Fine Gael and a smattering of independent TDs. And to be honest with you, I think that's where the focus should be right now. I think any of the people who have TDs, independent TDs, who are actually in this government, you know, the constituents they're from, put the pressure on them. Get them to be the tail that wags this government dog and get this thing sorted. Because clearly Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael ain't going to do it. This man needs to realise that his job is on the line. Just like all the lads down there in those tractors and trailers. So my advice to anybody listening to this video who's from those constituencies, ring them up and say, how in the name of Christ are you supporting this? You're persecuting my local farmer, my local bus driver. And all for the sake of a short-term measure that can reverse after the crisis is over. But I don't expect this government to learn a lesson. So I expect right off the bat now to watch the media pivot to act as attack dogs for this government. I'll be honest, I was somewhat surprised just how even-handed RTE had been over this whole affair, and I put a lot of it down to the fact that a lot of people in there are the sons and daughters of farmers and small hauliers and the like. But RTE is still a place that's got $750 million of a bursary hanging over its head from the government that ensures its existence, so you could be pretty fucking sure they're going to start telling the piper to sing the tune they want soon. Indeed, we've already seen the attack dogs doing character assassinations on the people involved, along with continually buying in with the government narrative that these are blockades down in Whitegate instead of a protest. You know, a blockade is illegal. A protest isn't. And you've seen that narrative been spun for the last 2 days to justify what just happened in Whitegate today, which was the pepper spraying of people down there and a mass attack by the guards. Indeed, the grandees of the media, the Fionn Sheehans and the Matt Coopers of the world, have already gone on the attack. Fionn is basically full on glazing Micheál Martin as some sort of genius, while Commissar Cooper is doing his best to do the imitation of the court of Marie Antoinette. Seriously, if you want an insight to the staggeringly arrogant opinions of the ruling class and their general attitude towards the rest of us, just listen to Matt Cooper's latest Path to Power podcast. It's astounding. He literally had one of his female guests say that half these lads are unemployed, they're just wasters down there with nothing else to do. Mother of God, woman, for the last 3 days, you've got people crying about how they've got 6 weeks left before they're out of business. Well, he's got some other hack guest on saying, oh, you just can't talk to anyone. I mean, what would that solve? I swear to God, the show is such a den of privilege that I'm half expecting to see a little pyramid of feckin' Ferrero Rocher in the corner. Don't take it seriously. If you listen to it, just see it as an example of what the enemy thinks. because my God, is it mask off. But it is indicative of underneath all the bluster what they really think of ordinary people. So be prepared for a broadside from the media. They're not going to support this any longer. They're going to get their marching orders from the government, and they're going to do what they're told. Because let's remember, you got every newspaper in the country paying 0% VAT thanks to the government. You've got RT with that $750 million handover as a gift, hanging out thanks to the government. You've got Virgin Media, and you've got all the radio stations being able to dip into the licence fee payer, all thanks to the government. They are not going to tell you the truth if there's a chance of any of that going away. Right now, they're busily trying to say that there's a lack of support among the public from this, despite the fact that there's obviously overwhelming support. In fact, just about an hour ago, I think, there was a march of 500 people with tricolours to come up and meet with the lads on O'Connell Street, just to show support. The type of people who would have been out for the immigration protest, the type of people who would have been out for the water charges. And to be honest with you, that's what we need to see. When the media were covering those things, they described it as a sinister fringe. They were continually underestimating the numbers that turned out. We need to get people to turn up on a Saturday and a Sunday to show support to these lads. Because this government is not going to stop until they are smeared and demonised. So seeing stuff like that today is a massive moral boost to them. I personally thought one of the best things to see was a massive pack of motorcyclists that just turned up to show solidarity with them too. Just the full length of a Collins Street Bridge. So don't mind me the mainstream media are trying to tell you. Those lads haven't been able to call a fucking referendum or election in a decade. And we're already seeing low slimeball attacks from people like Simon Harris, who are trying to make emotive calls about, oh, what about people who want to go to hospital appointments, or people who need, surgery? He's some bloody cheek considering the sheer number of people he's let die under his tenure as Minister for Health. I mean, the sheer staggering amount of projection that comes from the failures of this government. Micheál Martin going on about how people have the right to travel and freely associate and to go to work and go about their business, when he locked the whole bloody country down 5 years ago. He's the fucking cheek to talk about that when he enacted legislation which stopped people going to hospital to hold the hand of the people they loved as they left this world. Who stopped people going to funerals to say farewell to them. Who fucking shut down businesses for months on end, and some of them have never recovered. Dear God, the amount of projection from these guys is unbelievable. Again, sorry if I'm a little bit all over the place, but the Seagate escalation today has just flustered me. The army being on standby to assist the guards, it's never been done in my lifetime. The intransigent refusal to negotiate with people who can actually defuse the situation. And all over people who haven't thrown a punch or set anything on fire. This whole thing could have been diffused if Micheál Martin had just met these lads' representatives on Tuesday. He turned his excuses to say is, well, I can't guarantee that they will do anything. Well, that's their fault. You've done your job. You can stand up hand in heart and said, I tried to negotiate as a public representative. But you didn't do it. You've exacerbated the situation. And now we're looking like a situation where the actual government could fall. It's literally that serious now. The schools are due to back open on Monday, and there's actually people saying there might be bus drivers to get them anywhere. And if they do, they could be going to schools that don't have any kerosene to actually heat the buildings. All because of the egomania of this Taoiseach and his Taoiseach. Oh, and his Minister for Justice, who seems to think Tommy Robinson's behind the whole bloody thing. Sweet Jesus, he was away with the fairies coming out with that nonsense. Nefarious foreign actors organising the whole thing, Jim. No, I think it's just the ordinary plain people of Ireland that you haven't met in a fucking decade. It's an absolute mess. Although, in one white pill moment, I will actually get like the Farby little thing that we found out. This protest, it spread to Norway. There's two trucks organisations doing the exact same thing over there now. One group called Enough is Enough, and another group called Diesel Roar. And they're descending on the capital of Oslo to do the exact same thing. Apparently, bog standard fuel and lubricants have gone up by 17.9%, and diesel has gone up by 23.9%. Now, this is Norway. They have all the oil. So how the hell do you explain that? So the next time you hear some government minister start talking about the supply of oil, these guys own all of it and are still getting crucified. And it's purely down to green climate change fanaticism, where they want to move away from using oil and gas and shift to solar in the Arctic. Seems we're not alone in the world with a pack of loons running the country. So that's the update today so far, lads. It's the 5th day. I couldn't get over what went on in Whitegate. I've never seen that like that before amongst ordinary people. If things get much worse, I suspect you're going to see an awful lot of police officers suddenly develop blue flu. Because apparently they've been on orders to be active for the next 3 days because of a, quote, exceptional event, end quote. I've seen an awful lot of these lads are the sons and daughters of tractor drivers' sons and farmers' sons. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out. Okay, guys, I'll let you go. Anything else happens the next day or two, I'll update. And like and share and subscribe. And let us know what you think about what's going on, because sweet Jesus, we're in interesting times.